All right, Andrew Kramer here, and this tutorial is a fun one. Here's what we have. We have this footage of these guys driving. Basically, this is a shot with a stationary car. These are just some production stills that Sam Loya actually took. This is Bobby here in the car, and this is another good friend of mine, Tino. Anyway, these guys were also very helpful in setting this up. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take this interior green screen footage, drag it out here, and make a new comp, right? Let's go ahead and pull the green out of this shot. So I'm going to go up to King, Key Light. I'm going to select the green. And I'm going to skip a few of these, go to the pre-blur, maybe about 2.5. And come down to the screen matte, increase the black, decrease the white so we can get the data back in, change it to hard color, and add just that little bit of green back into it. All right, and then I'm gonna go up to matte, simple choker. I'll just do 1 pixel choke. You know what, actually, for this instance, I'm gonna bring up the fancy choker, the matte choker, and we're gonna soften it like maybe 5. Oh, way too much. 2. Extend this edge a little bit. All right, next thing we got to do is put our background in. So let's look here. We have this background plate. Let's drag that out there. Alt home, bring it back to the center point, and we want to sort of adjust the horizon. Move it down just a little bit. Okay, the next thing obviously is to work on the color correction. So let's go, I'm gonna start with the background plate. I'm gonna go to Effects, Color Correction, Levels, and I'm gonna take some of the warmth out of the image. Just tone it down just a little bit. Add the blue channel, gamma, and I decrease the red channel gamma. And then I'm gonna go to the actual one and just kind of blow it out just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to add levels to our top layer, color correction, levels. We're a little bright in the front, so I'm going to just bring this down just a little bit. And I'm going to drop some of the color again out of this, and make it a little bluer. So famous technique is we're going to blur out the background. I'm just going to go ahead and use a fast blur just for the sake of, rendering and stuff. Maybe 5 pixels or so, maybe even a little bit less, 3 pixels. And then I'm going to go ahead and do some more fun stuff. I have this other plate, which is a reflection. And the reason this works really well for reflection is because it's a little underexposed and the cloud data is all still there. So we're going to drag this out onto the very top. Alt home. And the next thing we're going to do is hit F4, and we're going to change the transfer mode to like screen, right? So already you kind of see, it's kind of like the reflection of the window, right? But there's a few more characteristics of a window that we want to try to incorporate into just this layer. So I'm going to go to Effects, Color Correction, Levels. And one is the fact that we don't want to see this much detail in the window. And with the screen mode, anything that's pure black is basically transparent. So if we kind of pull this down just a little bit, you'll see we can start seeing through the window a little bit more. And, it's starting to just look a little bit more realistic because with the shadow, you could generally see through a window. Now we want to actually also bring down the opacity. So I'm going to hit T, bring the opacity down to say 50. Now we also have the problem is the window cuts off about right here instead of, the full edge. So we want to go ahead and take care of that. We're going to go ahead and, well, before we do that, I want to enlarge this front plate and kind of stretch it out a little bit. And then also I'm going to hit the W key and just rotate the plate just a little bit so that kind of goes up and back. You can also blur this layer. So I select it, blur, fast blur. And just give it a little bit of a blur, and that way it kind of shows that our character is in focus, but that this one kind of shows through. But I'm going to just barely do it, like maybe 2.5. Well, the other thing we need to do is, while I enlarge this a little bit more, is we need to clip the edge of this. Since we had the windows rolled down, we want to, cut it off where the window would have cut it off if it were, if this were real. So let's go ahead and select the reflection, and I'm just going to draw a mask. Oops, just maybe right here. Okay, and that's it. And I'm going to hit F with the layer selected and do like a 2-pixel feather, and that's just to blend that in there, maybe just 1 pixel. Okay. All right, well, that's definitely an improvement. Now, there's some other things that we can do to enhance the feel of this window. All right, I'm going to make a new solid, and I'm going to make it kind of a dark grayish blue, something like that. And then I'm going to make a mask that kind of cuts it in half. I'm going to hit F for feathering, and I'm going to feather this mask like a lot. And I'm going to subtract the mask because I want this actually to kind of come off the back here. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here. I'm going to enlarge this layer, which is the layer of the color matte, and rotate it. And then make sure that we don't cut it off the edges there. And then I'm going to go cycle through the transfer modes by holding down Shift and just kind of moving down. And come across this one called Multiply, which I like. I'm going to zoom in, check this out. If we kind of darken the edges a little bit, we can kind of focus in on them a little bit better. I'm going to duplicate this layer and, rotate it around to somewhat the front. Kind of adds to the illusion of what we're trying to create here. So the other thing that we could do is duplicate this, this reflection plate and put it behind our interior guys, which is this layer, put it in the background, and I'm going to disable the masks for a second and shrink it down and put it as his window also. And that way you get kind of 2 reflections going on. It would just be a subtle thing. If we size it into that other window, maybe bring the opacity up a little bit. All right, cool. Masks back on. Okay, so now if we watch it, it's just another thing that is kind of happening, so you get the feeling maybe there's a reflection on the other side there. Now, one thing I'm just kind of noticing here that I kind of want to work on is I have this front reflection plate. Now, if I look at the sidewalk here, it kind of goes right here. And then if I look at the edge of the window, it kind of goes right here. So usually what you want is parallel lines to be parallel. So I'm going to kind of rotate this just a little bit and then go to the Distort plugin, corner pin. And I'm going to just kind of like pull these edges out and just give it kind of a distorted look so that my horizon, the line that goes across here is straight, but that my bottom of my layer gets a little bit closer to being parallel with the bottom of the window edge there. So kind of stretch that out. Okay, good. And then I'm going to have to go back and just adjust my mask just a little bit here. Also, I can cut the reflection off right here, even though you probably wouldn't notice it too much. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the pixel aspect ratio correction on, because this is also widescreen, and tilde key, bring it up a little bit closer, and then I'm going to go ahead and preview this. And let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this. Now, I don't want to make this the longest tutorial, but another cool thing we could do is add a little bit of light coming in through this window. And a simple way to do that is to make a new adjustment layer and add a simple stylized glow to it. And what it will basically do is, if you, using the threshold, you can kind of emit the glow from just the highlight areas. So like if I make it too much, it's going to affect areas we don't want to affect. But if we put it maybe about right there and blur it out some and drop the intensity just a little bit. I mean, outside it would definitely be, you know, overexposed compared to the inside of the car, but we don't want to, you know, overdo it, of course. Makes it kind of blend all together a little bit better. Let's go ahead and watch some of this. And the blur is dynamic. You know, when the trees block it, it won't bleed over into the other layer. So that's kind of a neat effect. I'm gonna make a new adjustment layer here, and I have some presets here, some Filmmagic Pro presets that you know, if you're lucky, you might see on my site, videocopilot.net. If I go down here to the cinema styles, I have this really cool one which I personally love. It's called Green Easy, and if I scroll down a little bit more, it's right here. So if I drag this out onto the adjustment layer, it basically will apply itself to all the layers beneath it. And if I need to, I can just make it a little less intense. I'm gonna go ahead and check this out, preview it. And remember, we have the pixel aspect ratio correction on, so we do have a little bit of an edge here, but I think it's mainly due to the blending of the pixels for the you know, the viewing option. Anyway, let me go ahead and preview this. Anyway, let's go ahead and just do a quick comparison. I mean, my favorite thing to do is go back to the original and, you know, check out, you know, the difference. You know, so I'm gonna take this interior green screen, Control D, duplicate it, put it on top of everything, hit F4, shut off all the effects. Okay, and then check it out. I mean, just so much depth. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Kramer.